Hi, I'm the developer of Spoiler Alert. Can you tell us a bit about the game without giving us a spoiler?
Well, the one-liner would be Super Mario backwards, because it's a classic platformer that the first thing you do in the game is complete it, and then you see the credits, and then the entire game starts going backwards, and you actually have to unplay it. So it's kind of like Super Mario, but in reverse.
Is that what the title is? Because you know what's going to come up?
Yes, because the first thing you see in the game is actually the ending. So you know how it's going to end right from the get-go.
Is it really easy to do, or?
It starts off very easy, but then it gets very tricky. Because everything is familiar elements that you've seen before, but in a reverse fashion. So for instance, in Super Mario, you get a power-up, and then you can shoot fireballs, and then if you die, you lose it, right? In this game, you've already had the power-up, you've already shot your fireballs, and you've already died and lost it. So going backwards, you have to unkill yourself to get the power-up back. Then you have to unshoot your fireballs. They're launched back towards you, so you have to unswallow them, or unshoot them, actually. And then at some point, when you initially would have gotten the power-up, you put it back and you lose it. So everything is going backwards. So where it would have been a normal platformer going forward, this is actually more kind of like a platformer puzzle, because you have to think in reverse. So that gets pretty tricky.
So you know how you get like power-ups going forward? When you go back, you got less power-ups. That means you get harder because you're a back default.
Well, the game actually starts in the very last world, which should really be the most difficult one. But it wouldn't really make for a very compelling gameplay experience to throw the player into a backwards going game that was really, really difficult from the get-go. So we had to kind of make it easy in the end of the game, and then make it become more difficult as you get towards the beginning of the game. So in that regard, it's kind of counterintuitive, but it makes for the best gameplay experience.
What platform have you got the game on?
Well, it's on many things. Right now it's out on Steam for Windows, Mac OS X, and Linux. And we've just released on Amazon for their Fire TV console and all their Kindle Fire devices, tablets, and mobiles. And sometime in the next 2 weeks, we're going to release on iOS for iPhone, iPad, iPod Touch, and Google Play for all the Android devices.
What's the character's like design? What made you design the character as he is?
Well, he's a chili pepper knight. So the funny thing is, the game was initially made at a game jam, and we only had 48 hours. Now the graphics artist, he had never done any frame-by-frame animation before. So in order to make the best of the time, he decided to go with a very basic shape, which was the chili pepper, because it was easy for him to animate. That's also why he has a helmet, because that way he didn't have to spend time on drawing a face. And then when the game jam was done, we decided to actually stick with it, because even though we had a lot of time now to do it properly, we decided that this had become the character. So he's a chili pepper knight.
As he's a chili pepper, I guess he fires fireballs because he's a...
Exactly. He's a very spicy one. He also has other power-ups, but the fireball one is definitely because he's a spicy chili.
What about enemies in this game? Are they other fruit and veg, or is it...
What's that?
Are the enemies like other foods, or is it just he's the only food in the game?
So they're very different. The first enemies that you encounter are undead garden gnomes. Pretty weird. Then we have purple penguins in spaceships. And we have big rolling fat undead garden gnomes as well. What else do we have? We have cacti that laugh at you when you die. And we have all sorts of very weird stuff in there. There's not other foods against you, but every single enemy that you will encounter will definitely be weird. Very weird.
Are you going to add additional levels? Because at the moment you're a bit alpha-y, well, wherever, what stage you at?
Right now, so the game is released and we have 100 levels. But we are going to add additional levels in free DLC at some point. So we'll add an entire different world with, I think, somewhere between 30 and 60 additional levels. Even though the game is released, we are going to expand it with additional content somewhere down the line. And the game also features a level editor, which is integrated with Steam Workshop. So you can actually make your own levels and share them, and that way, potentially, there's endless levels. So.
What about co-op? Can a friend join in? Will you add that, or is it already in there?
It's actually something we're considering, because the game also features a speedrunner mode. So the game will play like one long level, and it times you, and then you can post your best time online. So what we have considered is adding a split screen speedrunner where two players will actually play through the game at the same time, and then whoever gets through first will have won. Co-op, I don't think how that would work, but it's something we could look into, I guess, if someone has a good idea.
If you have split screen, would there be a ghost of the other character on the bottom and top screen of the other person?
No, so it would be actually two of the same game playing at the same time, but in different instances, in different times of the game, depending on who is faster or who dies the most. So I could be ahead of you in a game, but then if I die in a specific level a lot of times, you can actually catch up to me, and then that way we could have a very tight race.
And if it because he's the red chili, is there going to be a different color or any character customization?
Possibly. Actually, the character that he's out to rescue is the lovely Princess Tomato, which is a big pink tomato. So maybe it could be fun to see her running around in backwards motion. Possibly.
Is there anything you'd like to add about the game?
Play it. It's fun.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So where will this be?